Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on electromigration. Stay tuned till the end to know EM in both analog and digital designs. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates. Today we are going to discuss about electromigration in analog and digital designs. So what is electromigration? Let's see. Electromigration or EM is a aging cum failure mechanism associated with the average and RMS current densities in metal or via interconnects. EM analysis is performed on cell external interconnects as signal and power nets. EM goes in a very positive feedback loop with temperature, Joule heating. If left undetected, it can lead to performance degradation and finally chip failure over time. So let's see the physics happening in electromigration. A phenomena of molecular rearrangement happens in the solid phase caused by electromagnetic field. In addition, when current density gets too high, the momentum transfer from electrons start to happen. This result collision, which causes drift of metal ions from their original position, depends on conductor, crystal size, magnitude of forces, temperature and mechanical stress. So we have just talked about what EM is and what the physics is happening. Now let's see in VLSI how the damages are caused. In this photo we can see a void is getting created in metal via metal connection. So here we can see this will cause a open circuit in long run. Here in a single metal wire we can see it is causing the open circuit failure. Here we can see hillocks are getting created and they will finally join the two parallel metal lines, causing short circuit failure. So we just have seen that what is the physics and what the damage causes. But when we design any circuit in VLSI, we have to predict these things in advance so that the circuit don't go and damage over time. So for this we have some predictability. This predictability comes from Black's equation. So Black's equation is a mathematical model for calculation of mean time to failure of any semiconductor circuit under the influence of electromigration. So this is the mathematical form we can see in the screen, and these are the components of that equation. This Black's equation is used to predict the mean time to failure for electromigration. Here another important point would like to note that there is a basic thing, it's called bleach length. Okay, what is this? Anywhere that has a length below this threshold length will not fail by the electromigration. So if any metal strip or any via is less than the bleach length, so it will not harmed by the electromigration. So let's see how EM damages a metal or a via. What happened inside? First, the Joule heating I square R caused by the currents in metal interconnects. If this heat is low, heat gets dissipated through the metal interconnects. If this is high, void or extrusion get generated in metal interconnects or vias. Void or extrusion narrows the metal route. This in turn increases the resistance. This again in turn increases the heating effect. So it acts in a very cumulative positive feedback, and it goes on increasing. So one is increasing another, and finally the damage happens. So here let's see the pictorially what happens. First, increase of the local current density. This causes increasing in joule heating. This in turn increase the temperature. This in turns starts the growth of void or extrusion. Now these last two steps marked by red arrows keep on going in a positive feedback loop, and finally whatever was getting created, void or extrusion, that finally causes a disconnect or a short circuit, and the circuit performance is damaged, and in between stage the performance is getting slowly degraded. Now let's come to the method of EM detection. In VLSI design, we have to detect the EM very advanced in the design stage. So there are methodology is different. So let's see, there are two different methodologies are there. One is for the analog or the semi-custom, and second is for the digital. The EM analysis, the physics behind is same, but when we predict it during our designing process, we have to follow different methodology for the prediction or the violation detection. Before we go in detail of each of them, let's see in a general bird's eye view what is a circuit and how it is detected. The violations mean the EM violations. So a circuit we can imagine as a interconnection of different cells by different nets. So nets are shown in purple color. Here you can see here the purple color, these are the nets, and sky blue color, these are the cells. So generally the nets are extracted in SPACE format and the cells are extracted in DSPF format. So these are parasitic extraction. Later I will exemplify the SPACE and the DSPF. These are one of the prerequisite that we need to do. So both type of analysis is done. One is at the interconnect level and as well as the cell level. Cell, because inside a cell there will be some metal wires and they can contribute to a EM violation. So we have to do both. What inputs are required are the number one is RC parasitic, SPACE for DSPF. These are two different formats. I will differentiate them at later stage of this video. Cell specific, cell or net specific data. These will I also share what the data is, and technology specific EM rules from the foundry. Okay, this third point is very much important. This rule actually gives the capping level after which a metal doesn't show the violation, the current. Okay, the RMS current or the peak current, whatever the current we are seeing in a net. Okay, this threshold if not crossed, it doesn't show the violation. But if this threshold is crossed for any of the net, metal, via whatever, that will be predicted as a potential EM violation. So now I just give the overall bird's eye view of what things are needed and how we analyze in nets as well as cells. So now let's jump into the analog or full or semi-custom designs. this kind. Let's see. So let's describe first the flow, and let's see where the EM stands in this entire flow. So design specification, then comes the schematic design, then the basic circuit simulation is functional simulation. Okay, then the floor planning or partitioning, then placement and custom routing, then layout generation or changes, then we do the DRC and LVS, then we extract the parasitics, also abbreviated as PEX. Then in the next stage we do the EM and IR analysis. Now a violation is there, yes, so we get the violation map and we go back to the layout, overlay it and see the different hotspots, and we do the necessary changes. If there is no violation, then we proceed towards the next steps. So from layout generation or changes till the EM analysis, that happens in a loop until all the violations are cleared. So now let's see, this is the overall picture or the bird's eye view at what stage we analyze or predict the EM, and what things happen for a designer. Now let's see what things we do and the nature of the analysis. In analog designs, EM has a unique flavor because currents in analog circuit vary from design to design. Yes, so if your design is a PLL, it will be different. If your design is a band gap, it will be different. If you are it's a DC-DC, it will be different. So each design, the analog circuit currents will be different. The levels of current, I mean to say, will be different. So it can vary from nanoamps to a few amps. Amps means where we are dealing with the power circuitry. Okay, power management ICs, or where high power applications we are using. In analog circuit, it is important to note power rail, VDD, VSS and signal interconnects carry currents nearly the same order. So power nets and the signal nets have more or less same amount of current they are carrying. Total number of nets pretty less than a digital design, because analog semi or full custom design are handcrafted, and so the designs will have less number of nets overall. In analog designs, say whether it is a custom, full custom, semi custom, in any case we extract a DSPF netlist from the layout, which includes RCCC plus the tail comments. This is a very important point, the tail comment, and also the LVS log. This netlist is then used to simulate the currents in the power nets as well as interconnects, signal interconnects. As I mentioned earlier, if any of these resulting currents densities exceed the EM safe boundary, a violation is flagged for that particular net and a violation map is generated. So this could be GDS, RV, whatever, and we overlay this violation map, the hotspot map, over the actual layout, and we point out the faulty points. So this was for the analog designs. Now let's come to the digital designs, generally the SOC or ASIC, whatever we call. How EM is done here. Before going to jumping to the details of the EM methodology, let's see the flow and where the EM is standing. At what stage we do the EM analysis to predict the potential threats. So first the design specification, then RTL coding, then verification, this is a functional verification, then synthesis, then the power routing, global placement, detailed placement, clock tree synthesis, then global and detailed routing, then layout generation and changes, then DRC and LVS, then the parasitic extraction, then EM and IR analysis comes. So at this stage the EM and IR analysis is done. If a violation is reported, yes, so we go back to layout generation or changes. This continues until all the violations are corrected. Once there is no violation, we go towards the next steps. Now let's see in a digital design what are the important points for a EM analysis. Unlike the analog design, the power rails VDD VSS in a digital circuit carry DC current of nearly fixed magnitude, and this is the most important point in a digital design, clock and signal interconnects carry AC currents. AC mean to say like pulse or PWL. Hence the current changes direction with respect to frequency. In a digital design, generally it's a huge as compared to analog design, and massive amount of clock and signal interconnects connecting a sea of logic gates. So here the nets is count of nets is huge. So first the EM critical nets are filtered out. So this is a methodology inside the tools, and it's their proprietary thing. Then the SPEF is extracted from the layout, including RCCC plus tail comment. The tail comment is the most important thing that must be there, extracted for these EM critical nets. Then SPICE simulations are performed on these nets to get the currents, that is average current, RMS current, peak current, whatever we are having. Now we have the EM thresholds from Foundry, and if any of the resulting currents density or the current densities exceed the EM safe boundary, a violation is flagged for that particular net, and a total violation map is generated. Then this violation is overlaid onto the actual GDS, and hotspots are identified and corrected. Now let's talk about the EM detection fundamentals. So we have seen both analog and digital. Now we are doing the crux of the analysis. So what inputs we require? Parasitic, netlist, SPEF or DSPF, test vector based on the functionality, SPICE model, SPICE options. Because to generate the currents we have to do the SPICE simulation, the average, RMS, peak, this kind of currents. These are combined into a SPICE deck. Then transistor level SPICE simulation happens. In analog we know that we do the SPICE simulation, and in digital we have just discussed that for EM critical nets we do these things. This results peak, RMS or average current. The worst current of each resistor is compared with the EM threshold, and this threshold comes from the DRM. As a result, we generate the violation map. The metal or via which are having higher current than the allowable boundary limit as per the DRM are flagged as violations. So it could be current or it could be current density, both. So we just discussed the general methodology, and now let's look into the SPEF and DSPF, the similarities and the dissimilarities. So here is a short snippet of a SPEF. A SPEF contains a header section, then a name map section. So these nets are numbers, and these you can see the hierarchies are also here. There will be a port section. Ports means the ports of the design. Layer map will be there. This layer map comes from the technology also, because each layer in your layout will have a number, and correspondingly it will have a layer name. So like 21 is metal 1, 22 is via, and 23 is metal 2. Then for each net, each particular net, there will be a dnet section. So if we see dnet here, number 5 is there, and this corresponds to net 1 from the name map. So the details of this net, including the parasitics, will be there. And in the register section, we'll see this is the this red color tail comment. It will contain width, length, and LVL. LVL means this is the layer map layer number. So 23 here means metal 2. In case of VIA, instead of width and length, there will be area reported. The LVL will be still there. So this is just a snippet of SPEF. How does it look with the tail comment? Here the snippet of a DSPF is shown. It will also contain a header section. There will be the difference between the SPEF and DSPF is the DSPF is a ready for SPICE simulation. So there will be a sub-circuit definition. There will be a net section. So this net section, the nets are described like ground net. Okay, it will have its parasitics here. The register is having the tail comment. Other nets are also there. So I have just given a snippet, and here there will be the tail comments also, another net, and finally there will be an instance section. So this is used in a SPICE simulation directly. So here the SPICE instances of the different internal parts will be there, and there is a .ends at the end. So this ends the SPICE sub-circuit. So for this is for a buffer, right? So sub-circuit buffer ends here. So this is how DSPF is different, because in SPEF there will be no instance section. In DSPF it will be there. A DSPF is a SPICE ready format, while the SPEF is not a SPICE ready format. Now we have discussed the EM, its physics, its detection methodology in both analog and digital. Now comes the mitigation part. Now mitigation part is same in either of the cases, because we have to make the changes in the layout. We have to avoid 90-degree corners on high current nets, even distribution of multiple vias. We have to avoid abrupt wear width reduction. We have to double or multiple vias have to be used instead of single via, which are getting violated. Length shortening of a metal or a via below the bleach length. Increase the wear width to reduce the EM. Avoid using the parasitic extraction RSPF. This is a reduced format, so we have to avoid this at all cost. We must use DSPF or SPEF with tail comments. So here after the violation are detected, we have given the scenario how the violations are mitigated. This is not only the exhaustive list. As per technological progress, we have different more scenarios, and we act according to case by case basis. So thank you for listening to my video till this point. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.